Thank you, Anne, and thank you to everybody in the Regal Africa team for putting this together. It's our second day, and it's, I've got notes and notes and notes of all those great nuggets that we've heard this morning. I'm really looking forward to the conversation this afternoon with Karumba Kinyua, with Luke Kinoti, and also with Terry-Ann Chebet. I was going to say ladies first and get Terry-Ann, introduce Terry-Ann first. But since we were sort of kind of introduced to Karumba with the book that didn't quite happen, I'll jump in and introduce Karumba first, who is one of our panelists today. And, he's not only an author, we saw that, right? The book Wealth Beyond Generations, and really talking about what this conference is about. How do you, first of all, create that wealth, but how do you pass it along efficiently? But also, how do you go ahead and make sure that it is your future generations that are benefiting from all that hard work that you've put into place in starting that business, or however it ends up looking like. Karumba's background is in strategy, risk, project management, and finance. He's also in value chain and governance, and his background is in real estate and in finance as well. But more than that, I think it's all this piece around how to put that all together and show us, as Anne said, how to become the dollar millionaires that we want to be, so that we have something to pass on. We also have on our panel today, Luke Kinoti, who's the founder and CEO of Vedman Capital. So he's an investment banker with amazing experience, and I'm really excited that you're on with us today, Luke. And one of the things that was interesting about your bio, usually we read about Kenyans working in the diaspora and having offices that are the Kenyan office is the secondary office of the diaspora employer, right? But you sort of flip that on its head. You have a Kenyan organization that has a diaspora office in one of the capitals of the world when it comes to finance, and that's in Switzerland. So make sure you tell us a little bit about what that experience was like when it comes over to talking about you. And then we have Terry-Ann, and Terry-Ann is a media and communications professional. She has a very familiar face and voice, and she does amazing work. I was just telling her when we were chatting that, no pressure that I'm getting to moderate a session that she is on. Usually she's the one on this side asking the great questions and putting it together. So hopefully I can meet some of your standards, Terry-Ann, when it comes to this. But today's session, we're really going to talk about your entrepreneurial journey. And let's share with us a little bit about what that's been like, moving away from media and communications and sort of being in this space where you're doing your own skincare brand. So we'll talk a little bit about that too as we go in. And to introduce our audience to all of you, Terry-Ann, I will have you jump in first and tell us a little bit about how you ended up in the skincare world and in entrepreneurship. Do we have Terry-Ann?
Hi, Wangeci. It looks like she's running a bit late, but we can carry on with the conversation. Yeah.
No problem. So then I'll jump to you, Karumba, and if you could tell us a little bit about how you ended up there. CFA with this finance background, you've been doing strategy and risk management and all of this. But how tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. How did you make that leap from I'm going to be an employee and now I'm getting into my own business?
Thank you very much, Wangeci. My name is Karumba Kinyua. I'm the managing partner of Pinehill Consulting, an investment risk and strategy consulting firm. I became an entrepreneur around 2015 when I left the corporate world to start Pinehill Consulting because of a couple of things. Firstly, I realized that the wealthy among us, and I was working for a very, very wealthy man. Unfortunately, he left us just slightly over a year or so ago, that they get good professional help. They have good investment bankers working for them, good banking relationships. They have people that are willing to pay millions if that's what's demanded, so that they can, in the big scheme of things, create bigger things. So I thought to extend the sort of advisory work that I used to do to probably the common person who can pay for such services at maybe a reduced cost. I think that's what I did. And then I have a passion for health creation. And it started from me working abroad when I finished university, specifically in England for 1 year. And I realized that if we retire and we've not organized our affairs, we'll have a very long way ahead. For example, if you retire at 60 years and you live to be 90, you might have lived longer than the whole of your working life. How do you prepare for it so that you don't start to, really, desire not to live anymore, to live a good life? And indeed, and in fact, the book that I wrote, which I have a copy here, and unfortunately, we were not. The video did not come about. It's about that successful entrepreneurship that is creating jobs in the world as businesses that have been there for many generations. And us as maybe Africans mainly, because I spoke to a lot of Asian people, we've not learned how to do it very, very well. Mercedes is only big because it was founded many years ago. Colgate, all these brands we love to use, the Ford, and these are Walmart with over 1 million employees. It's not possible, except now through technology, to create companies that are global, out of taxes and employing our people and making a lot of wealthy within one generation. Yes, you can start, but by the time maybe you're 60, 70, you should leave a good platform for people to take over. So I like entrepreneurship, takes advantage of my skills. I like learning, I like doing different things. And it's something that I encourage many people to, so that they can create for others when they live and.
Okay, thank you for that, Karumba. I'm going to pop up a little poll right now that touches a little bit about what you've just mentioned. So I hope you guys can see it. Right? It's just 3 very brief questions, true or false. It's anonymous, so we won't know what you say. And we're asking, are entrepreneurs born or are they made? Is that a true or false statement? What do you think? People go into business as a first choice and not as a fallback. And then also, those millionaires we see, they made money through employment and not necessarily being entrepreneurs. So let us know what you think. There's 19 of us. Please go ahead and participate. If we could get a few more of those answers, then we can also just discuss this as we go along with a panel. So again, just to respond on the screen in front of you for those 3 questions. And it's quite interesting to see how some of these are very, very clear in people's minds that, first of all, that if you want to become a millionaire, you need to do that through business and not employment. And then also that entrepreneurs are not born, they're actually made. So thank you for those of you who have given us that, who have responded to the poll. And I'm going to turn over to you, Luke, and ask you about that, especially that one about entrepreneurs being made and not necessarily being born. And if you could use your own experience as you talk about that and tell us how you ended up CEO of your organization and a little bit about that Swiss office that I mentioned, it would be very good for us to hear.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Kinoti. I'm an entrepreneur of many years. And first of all, thank you for the opportunity to join and to have, I like what my colleague has said and shared. Now, my journey in entrepreneurship began quite a while, which I'll take you briefly. One, my father was an entrepreneur, and in my growing up, I was joining him in his business. But when I went to university, my shift, I wanted to become a pastor by the time I was leaving university. So I was quite engrossed in becoming a pastor, and I put aside the entrepreneurial activities until later on I got employed in that company I mentioned, that and headquartered in Geneva. And there, when I became the CEO, and I started supporting many micro enterprises in Kenya, supporting also the other offices across Africa and Asia, is when my entrepreneurial spirit started coming back again, as I engaged with many entrepreneurs. And I remember early 90s when I visited Asia, and I saw the efforts, how many people are changing their lives through the enterprise rather than through employment. And that spirit came back again. And later on, as I left that institution, is when I began Fusion Capital, which again became a real and a Pan-African company. And as I answer your question, is that then I created an office in England, in UK this time. The other one was in Switzerland, then I created the UK to mobilize the resources. I know many times I couldn't go to the UK to mobilize foreign resources so that we can come and invest here in Kenya, and which the company was basically involved in supporting SMEs, both either in debt or in equity, and also engaging in the real estate. And that I put my hands on for many years. And until right now, after I returned from Fusion and get caught up in other things, right now I'm involved in Vedman Capital, whereby I'm being involved as an investment advisor to quite a number of SMEs and assist them to do fundraise so that also they can grow their wealth. I will indulge you later as you keep on asking questions. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I mean, look at that. You've got the powerhouse of East and Central Africa being Nairobi. You've got the powerhouse of Western Europe being London, and you've got the powerhouse of Geneva in Switzerland. So when we think of big money, those are the cities we think of, and you've been in each and every one of those, and really working in diaspora, right? Before it became a thing. So if we could talk a little bit about that, because one of the speakers in the previous panel, Simon Wafubwa, he said that resources, right, have never been scarce. It's only resourceful minds. Yeah. And this was something that we had chatted about in, as we were gearing up towards today. Yeah, where, you have people saying, oh, entrepreneurs, we don't have financing, we don't have capital. And then there are other people who say, actually, that's not the problem. The problem is a lack of ideas. So, I don't know what your views are around that particular statement. And I'll go back to you, Luke, if you could tell, well, I can't call you Luke, sorry. Just allow me to call you Mr. Kinoti.
Thank you.
We'll go back to you, Mr. Kinoti, if you would just let us know a little bit about that. What does that mean that it's not the financing that's the problem. It's not the resources that are the problem. It is the ideas. What have you found in your experience as you raise money for and as you provide investment advice for these different enterprises?
Thank you. That sounds an easy question, but it's a bit complicated. I'll start by sharing this book. How is the camera? Can you see it? My journey in the world of business. I wrote it as the minute I retired. Now, two sides of the coin. You need the money. The other side of it, you need an idea. What is it that to attract the investors, the people with the money? That's the bottom line. When you go to do fishing, how do you attract the fish to yourself? How did I begin Fusion? After I left the former institution, I wanted to begin in business. I was invited in a conference in London, and I was one of the speakers. And I talked great ideas as we are talking today of how I want to begin a bank, how I want to do microfinance, how I want to support and alleviate poverty, the normal thing. Then after we finished, one man who asked me, one investor who asked me, and what is your big idea at a personal level? I said, I want to begin a bank. Then he asked me, and why haven't you begun it? That's the question I think you're asking me, Wangeci, on behalf of everybody else. Why haven't you begun what you have? Everything begins with an idea. The scientists can go out to research, they are looking for something. So if you have no idea to begin a business, definitely you not begin. And once you have an idea, and I like what you said about Mafuga, who is my friend, that is what you attract. The bigger the idea, the bigger it will attract big money. The smaller the idea, it also attracts the small money. And I think that's the bottom line. And that's what I've found. The opportunity to raise billions of money. I got challenged one day, I wanted to fundraise. That time I was so excited to go to fundraise for 500 million Kenya shillings. It was quite a lot of money for me. And when I sat down before the various investors in London, and one of them was kind enough to tell me, Mr. Kinoti, you are too small. And it came back again to me. Am I small in stature? Or what is it small about me? And then I discovered my business idea was too small for him to invest. And that became a challenge to me and to many others as I interact with. Yes, begin small, but let your business idea be big. But there are those who are mentors who begin small, they'll still their level. But if you're not the kind to remain small and you want to be an entrepreneur who can create wealth, both for yourself and even for generations, as my colleague has said, then you must think big. And the bigger you are, the more you attract money. And for example, in Kenya and worldwide, investment banking exists to help you fundraise. You have got a big idea, you go out there and you tell that idea to those others investors who have the money. So I agree with that idea that money is not the issue, it's the issue of an idea. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. And I'm going to ask the same question to you, Karumba. What do you think of that idea that really it's not the money that's an issue, it's the ideas. And as Mr. Kinoti put it, the bigger the idea, the more money you attract. Is that something that you found, or what's your view on that?
Yeah, it's true. I was speaking to one of the colleagues in the fundraising scene, just like me, and he was telling me he doesn't touch anything below $1 billion. He raises 3, 4, 5 billion plus, because the same amount of work and effort required to raise 10 million, because I was raising 10 million for someone. He told me that I can't even talk. It's the same effort required to raise a lot of money. And he was of the opinion, like, if many of the Western funds don't invest anything less than $10 million, and that's about 1 billion. And if an idea is going to scale to Africa, at least, it needs to grow. The amount of opportunities in Africa is unprecedented because there are so many people coming here looking for opportunities. One of the reasons why I would never invest in DESI and those pyramid schemes, the moment they told me that we collect this money, invest in Europe, and give this sort of returns, I said, no, I had just finished my studies in London, and I know this is where everybody was very, very excited about. If you go to these investor conferences abroad, and say you are from Africa and Kenya, people leave other people and they come talk to you. They want to take your contacts. How can you help them execute on the idea? We also know that we have got over 4 trillion shillings lying in our Kenyan banks. Kenyans have a lot of money lying in banks in savings account that have not found a way to be activated to ideas that can grow. But I have to tell you, not many people are willing to professionalize the idea. Not many people are willing to pay a consultant to package the idea in a good way. There's something we call information memorandum. There's something we call a teaser. And every large investment, including what Mr. Kinoti, my senior colleague, has been working on. I've seen their teasers, they are very professionally done. Some of them, even I saw some of that work abroad. The colleague I met told me he spends $3,500 going to Europe to create a model for his business. So ideas needs to be packaged. It's not good to have a good idea. An idea needs to be packaged for the market and especially for banks in a proper way. There's also, of course, don't expose the crux of your idea, because we also know there are a lot of people here who've come, especially in the IT space, to try and fish for good ideas. Because for some reason, we don't believe in our ideas, we don't believe we can create the next Amazon, the next Walmart, the next large company like Google. So ideas need to be packaged, because let's say if you are a doctor and you want to create a medical solution, that's your expertise. You need to speak the language of investors. The language of investors is IRR, it's about return. Yeah, myself, I've seen many people who tell me, oh, Karumba, just come, package my idea, get me a lot of money. Then I ask them, what is it in it for me? No, once we get the money, we will talk. No, it takes time and effort and a certain skill to be able to relate to this very professional market. And I tell you what, if your documentation or your idea is not good, they won't even allow you any time of the day, because the people with money are seeing a lot of people. But if it's well packaged, there will be people queuing to invest in your idea and to support you. Yeah, that's my view, that yes, there is money. There are a lot of Kenyan entrepreneurs and angel networks looking for good opportunities. Many people with senior jobs that are looking at extra income. Yes, but then before I take the meeting back to you, one of the biggest challenges, because I do that, I do due diligence for diaspora people, is honesty. Don't embellish your idea. Don't say that in 4 years I'll have sold $100 billion. If you say that you've got a finance director, have them. If you say you have sales, pre-funding sales of 5 million, 2 million, let that be the truth. And our people need to know we only have one version of the truth. And investors don't mind if your idea fails or even it's not good, but they'll be very concerned if you're going to embellish the numbers, embellish your experience, embellish the number of offices that you have, the number of staff. The moment they can pick out that, you'll never get money and you get blacklisted by the investing community. But if you keep a man of your words, a woman of your words, even if you fail, they'll join you for your next venture. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for that. And, I was going to sort of go back to, when should entrepreneurs look for people such as yourself, right? What is considered the right stage to go for that big money and even on that packaging, and how do you determine whether that should be whether that financing should be equity financing or whether you're looking for debt financing? When should that happen? And
okay,
is the business supposed to be a certain size before that happens?
Thank you very much. I think many people don't understand is that today you can even raise $1 billion shillings. Yeah. So what investors do, they'll never write you a check of 1 billion. They feed you, they feed money into your business as you hit your milestones. So if somebody tells you I've raised 1 billion, the next moment they're not going to write you a check of 1 billion or 5 billion. So what then you do is that come up with a financial model with cash flow needs that show maybe the first year you only need 200-300 million, maybe to set up a plant. Let's say you are a healthcare innovator or entrepreneur, you want to set up a hospital. Then so to start, you may actually even need only 50 million to lay the grounds, get the right licenses out, and get a small team on board. And that's the same way I think Mr. Kinoti will tell you that they do construction project. Then they come, they see, yes, we met this milestone. Then I need another 200 million to get the project to do what we call the shell, the outer building. Then you need money for finishing. Then you need money for equipping. Then you need money for staff. Then you need money for operations. That's how financing works. So when should you come? Then you should come as early as possible, because to be honest with you, we see also a lot of very bad ideas. The joke is made of somebody who had an idea of converting doors into badminton, playing tables. So, like right in the middle, you could tilt the door up, into a flat, into a flat position and play badminton. But people did not think those doors were secure enough, and they wanted a venture to do that. So I tell you what, there are a lot of good ideas, but even if the idea is just very nascent, very new, we also help to shape somebody's idea to make it good. If you speak to somebody like our senior colleague, Mr. Kinoti, they have the experience, they have met the people, they can tell you this will never sell. Or this is a good idea, but change here, improve on this. And eventually, your idea sells. And then, because you do not need all the money at the same time, there's a lot of bootstrapping. What is called bootstrapping is where you struggle through the business, you put in your own money, your friends, and also your safe so that your idea takes 10 years to mature. But you can't do that with projects, ideas that need huge capital and to scale very quickly. I was reading the story the other day of Safaricom raising money. In ideas where you're the first mover, you capture the market, you need a lot of marketing money to hire a huge team. So you need to come in early, we sharpen the idea. The disaster we see is that you want us to raise money within 6 weeks or 5 weeks. It takes between 1 year and 2 years to raise money. So you might as well come early. Investors don't like people who are rushing them. They have investment committees to approve the money. They can decline you. I just had an investor decline to invest last minute when they're almost signing the collect because they say, unfortunately, something better came up. So come early, let's sharpen the idea, maybe even do a feasibility study. And by the way, that is something many people forget. It's good to do some sort of research. Is there a market for your product? If it's there, how big is it? If it's not very new, of course, we know there are some products that customers, the moment they see it, they will like it. But every successful entrepreneur likes to speak to customers, because in any case, if it's them you expect to buy the product, you better talk to them. When people in construction industry build, they take you to the show house. Is it small? How are the bedrooms? How are the washrooms? How is the kitchen? Particularly for those of you and us who spend a lot of time cooking. Yeah, sometimes you don't prove that idea. I also see entrepreneurs, as I finish, who say my idea will be stolen. So will it die if it doesn't get exposed to other people? Thank you for now.
Thank you for that, Karumba, because it's true, that is a big fear. But I did think you mentioned it in your previous answer about how, yes, you're giving the idea, but there are certain ways in which you can package it so that somebody doesn't run away completely with your idea, right?
Yes.
I think that there are still ways you can share that ambition without necessarily giving away the formula, right?
Yes.
And over to you, Mr. Kinoti. There's, I was looking at these statistics that have been provided by various organizations, including one called the Kenya Business Guide, right? And they were talking about how, small businesses in Kenya are contributing upwards of 3.3 billion shillings annually. And this is really up to a third of the country's GDP, yeah? But when you look at that, you also look at the fact that a lot of these businesses do not make it past the second year. So how do you actually, let's use your example. How did you get over that startup jeopardy to be where you are right now and to have the kind of business that you have? And also, how are you using your experience to help those small businesses that are coming to you with their big ideas and with their ambitions for growth.
Thank you. I'll be a bit different from maybe many. I don't mind when business fail if the entrepreneur himself has not failed. Many small businesses, and I've done it many times. You begin with them. There's no market, as my colleague Kenya said, you have not done good research, or the market has shifted. Circumstances have changed, environment has changed. So definitely business will fail. It will not be there. And therefore, I'm not worried when that happens, because an entrepreneur should be able to see this business is not going very far, and therefore they change. So for those who do research and sometimes write these statistics, they realize that I've changed my business model because there's no market, and they can classify it as it's failed. I don't belong to that. I want to shift from there. And therefore encourage every entrepreneur. Your journey is to grow the business and use the business to grow your wealth. And I think I'll agree with my colleagues here. The business is a vehicle. To many small businesses will serve 3 levels. The first level is it gives you employment. You have initiated, you have invested your little money, and it will give you the first employment. You will be the first employer of your business. Then you take up other employees. However, if the market shifts, please do shift. One of the characteristics of an entrepreneur is ability to run the market, to check out the market is doing and get off. Otherwise, you'll be caught up being like another dinosaur in the market that has shifted, particularly if you want to grow. That's one. The next bit of it is that the scalability. One, there are businesses that will definitely scale and become big. The other businesses that they are bound not to become scalable. The issue is that now the entrepreneur himself, is he prepared, has he got that ability to grow his business? Any business can grow because it can shift, but the entrepreneur himself may not have the capacity to grow outside himself. And therefore, we should give room for those also who don't want to go beyond their own capacity. Then there are those others who begin, like a Chaco, Sarah, Trenda, and then he builds our own empire. Such people then are the ones we can talk to right now, that they create opportunities. They are creators of businesses in a big way. And particularly for the young people who have got the future, who have got opportunity right now to go tech. Tech is quite a big business that is there. They have got a great opportunity, one, to begin small. Others, let's not, beginning small helps you build the capacity, build the skills, build the muscle, run the market, know where to do your social capital, whom do you approach for what. You build relationships with the banks, with the various financiers, with the technical support services. And you need all these support services to grow your business from being 1 employee to 2 to 10 to 100. It's our support system. And many of us are not patient. Maybe the next thing entrepreneurs should have is, apart from honesty, they must also be patient. Patient with themselves so that they don't become burnout even before they have begun, because every night they are thinking about it. So they must run patient with themselves, run to the experience, the failures that come. They should not bring you down, but you should improve on them. That's another skill that every entrepreneur should be able to run, that improving yourself, self-running. And right now, these days, there's a lot of material out there. One of the things I've learned after I wrote my book on entrepreneurship, I wrote another book. This one is written, you can't read it. It's written, The Angel Investor, Lessons in Investment and Wealth Creation for a Secure Future. That is part of my book that I've written. And it gives you opportunity to let you know that right now, particularly I see this through crowd financing. Crowd, how do we pronounce it? Venture capital, that you are able to raise money through the internet, through people who are looking for where it can invest. But the issue is, and I'll give this as an example as I conclude. When I went to fundraise, and this experience has lived with me, I went to fundraise. And this is where I was support Kenya. I was in London, and it's quite very good support system. And it told me this. Kinoti, I don't care if you fail in business, but please don't waste my money. That he knows that you give me these billions of shillings, but I should not waste it. If he can come and see this is what the business has done and it has failed, because there's no businessman or woman, big or small, who have never experienced business failure. However, have you wasted the money? May I mention that many of us here in Africa, in Kenya in particular, who have a lot of experience and around East Africa, once you go to a financier or an investor and you borrow that money, or once that money comes in your custody, diversion starts coming. You start buying holiday homes. You start buying abroad. And out of 100% money you borrowed, only 60% or 70% can get invested in business. And that becomes a source of failure, source of mistrust, and a source of pain to yourself. And might say that the records are out there. Once you don't do well with one investor, the one goes around. It will be circulated, particularly the international market. If you reach a certain size and you are borrowing money, it will go there and they will know you can't trust it, so and so. I fundraise every day. Minimum, many of my normal clients are those who want to borrow, invest about 100 million Kenya shillings plus, that is, yeah. But also I assist every day, even those who are borrowing 10,000 shillings. I have just returned as chairman of a microfinance institution, and I help. So I've got the whole scale from little money to billions of shillings. So I deal with all that, and I'm grateful for that. Maybe I'll stop for there. Now I don't know if I've answered the question. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I think Anne has put it in the chat for all our listeners. If anybody has any questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat so that our entrepreneurs here can tell us how they can answer the questions that you have. And thank you for putting in the chat also, Karumba, where we can get your book. And even you, Mr. Kinoti, if you have a place, a website, or even a till number where we can buy the book. Nowadays, there's Sendi, there's Uber, there's everything. I'm sure that that once we pay for the book, you'll be able to deliver for us, and some of these services are available across the country. Those of you who want it exported to you, I'm sure there's a way that can be done as well. So please do not hesitate to get a hold of these pearls of wisdom, because that's what they are, that have been published for you. I think it was Gina Dean who has said, as she has gone around talking about her memoir, the importance of telling your story. And so we thank you that the two of you have taken the time to tell us not just your story, but to also give some guidance. Yeah, you've given us some roadmap that is born of your experience there in those books and in those publications. So please put it in the chat for us so that we're able to get a hold of your books. And I'm seeing over here that we have a question from Sharon. Sharon wants to know, what are the 3 key points that a startup business should highlight in order to be investor ready? Just 3 key points.
Wangeci, let me come in, because I also feel the other things that that we should talk about. I think
sure,
there's no taking it away that entrepreneurship is demanding. And the reality is, we now know not everyone can become an entrepreneur. For example, if you're not hardworking, if you wait to be told what to do, if you can't stand risk, if you don't like people, entrepreneurship is the most generous thing anyone can do, because you have to work with staff, you have to pay people money who have given you money. So I want to say that today there are people who can test your ability to be an entrepreneur. Indeed, statistics show it's only 4% of entrepreneurs who succeed on a very large scale. So if you don't like risk, if you don't like working for long hours, if you're like, what we say, a 9 to 5 person, you're out of the door, you like leisure. Entrepreneurship is very demanding. And the reality is, I'm seeing a lot of entrepreneurs who are very stressed. They have can't pay their bills, it's okay to get employed. It's 100% okay to get employed. And many people have done fairly well getting employed. And the fact that you're an entrepreneur, honestly, doesn't mean you're more innovative or more creative than anyone else. It's just a calling for that time. And there are many entrepreneurs who work for some time, then go back to employment. And one person told me, you owe no one an explanation. If it's not working, go get a job, that will give you, as they say, insurance, a pension, and it allows you to strategize. I also want to pick a point Mr. Kinoti said. And entrepreneurship is also not for those who fear failure, because many successful people will tell you that you are one month away to failure. So if you find that failure will devastate you, especially if you've been brought up under a system where failure was highly punished, entrepreneurship is not for you. One day a check, somebody will not pay you, or a transaction will fail through. You need that ability to withstand those challenges. Then, of course, if you don't like being told what to do, it's also entrepreneurship is not for you. Conversely to that popular thinking, once you get investors, they have to tell you what to do. Your employees sometimes will tell you, boss, you are leading us to the ditch. Can we go this way? That perception that you're your own master, I don't like working for anyone, no one tells me anything. That's not for entrepreneurship, because you have to be told by what to do. Sometimes you have to change your plans. And also as you work with customers, because customers are key. The other thing is entrepreneurship is not for those who don't like starting. I've seen people who go for one accelerator program to another. We call them serial accelerators. They go listen to everybody, every conference. They buy every book, including Mr. Kinoti's, and yet they never start. I normally say the miracle is in starting. You start, and then, as they say, you build your parachute as you come down. That ability to start is very important. And now, just to go back to your question, one of the things, maybe let me also add, entrepreneurship is also not for people who don't respect senior people. One of the reasons, as I wrote my book and researched heavily among the Asian community who have built some fairly successful intergenerational business, is that we are afraid of bringing strong people into our businesses. A finance director will tell you you are wrong. Let's go this way. A marketing manager who you don't have to command, who is not a recent graduate, because those are the sort of people that make successful entrepreneurial activities like Equity Bank, for example, work. I normally say James Mwangi, who we respect very much, has a board of directors. People will tell him, sir, this is the way we are going, or this will not work. You must have people you listen to succeed. But I want to end this part of my contribution, and I talk about it very much in this book. I see a lot of distraction among entrepreneurs, where the moment you succeed, I'm sure Mr. Kinoti has been approached to become the next governor of his county in Meru or in Nairobi, we get distracted by politics. Honestly, and we have to say it here, especially as men, the moment we start to succeed, every girl in the office is our girlfriend. We get 3 or 4. That's a huge distraction among entrepreneurs. I've seen people who've been given 40 million, they went to build a flat in Kisumu, and then they start to dodge investors. So how do we avoid distraction? Number one, when you succeed in real estate, they tell you, my friend, you can also succeed in fishing. You can succeed in diplomacy. There's money to be made in energy. We never stick to the knitting. Of course, you can diversify, and it's not advised, but wait until your business is strong enough, you've put in strong managers, and you can go for 6 months or 6 months or 6 weeks without anyone calling you. So I talk about it here a lot because I saw when I interviewed people that if Mr. Kinoti is my supplier, he gets distracted by politics or another friend. We call them an away match instead of playing home games. What will happen to me with their customer? It's very depressing when the moment I pay my supplier money, they cannot supply because they are out campaigning. Where do we get distracted? There are people called to be politicians, there are people, but let's not get distracted. And also let's put in systems that will allow businesses to scale. Let me say something. Businesses like banks, they deal with money. Yes, they're able to scale. And I see people who are afraid of scaling because people will steal from you. And you don't even deal with money. But banks have put in systems to allow them to grow to Rwanda, South Sudan, so that there is controls around money. People who are afraid to scale cannot build intergenerational business because a small idea cannot sustain the generations to come. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you for those pointers, Karumba. Really, truly. In fact, I really like this one about generosity and the reminder not to get distracted. Mr. Kinoti, before we wrap up, let's hear from you. What are your nuggets that you can give us? And going back to Sharon's question, what are the three main points that you can give entrepreneurs who are listening this afternoon as one of those maps along the signposts along the entrepreneurial journey that you say, look out for this or keep this in mind. If you could give us about 3 points, that would be excellent.
Thank you. My pick up from where my colleague has left about getting distracted and becoming a junk of all trade and hopefully a master of all of them. Try your best to have a flagship business which can support all others in case future comes and you may have to diversify. If you can focus, create one business that can grow, and then the others can be subsidiaries if you are cut for that. And when we come as investors, because I've been on the two sides of the coin, I've been an entrepreneur. I'm beginning a new business completely, something I've been having a dream for the last many years, 10 years, and I'm beginning it just right now. That's why I'm doing research. Investors and financiers look for people who are focused. And if you are able to have your dream, which you have packaged professionally, that becomes a winning. And one of them is have your business plan or strategic plan, whichever it is fits you. That's one of the things that financiers look for. Very, very, very important. Second, they look for people who themselves who are prepared. You yourself as entrepreneur. If you come to me as a financier and I want you to finance, say, a small portion meal, and then out of nowhere I will start talking about Matatu. Do you also finance Matatu? I'll ask you, did you come for portion meal or do you come for a Matatu financing? Remain focused and show it, because we'll discover, people will do research to discover if you are focused or if you are disciplined. I think the key word my colleague talked around, I didn't mention the word clearly, is discipline. Are you disciplined to stick on what you are supposed to do? We are looking for entrepreneurs who have a sense of discipline to stick to it until either they are failing, because if you are failing, you can know and you can adjust. You don't have to dig and grave for your business. You can move on before you lose a lot of money. The other thing we must look for, and this we have not mentioned, is cash flow management. Whereas we say money is not the issue to start a business, cash flow is the everything in your business. Financials, you look for the cash flow to see how, if you have any cash, or how the cash or the business will generate cash for them, because they are really investing to get money. It's not a charity. Even if it's charity, I want to see the services you are offering. So cash flow is extremely very key. The others who like to ask you, they like to look for collateral, security. It's a security in your character. Very, very important. Can you be trusted? It's a security through tangible assets that you are coming. It's a security based on the business growth that I can be around there. If you allow me to be part of your governance, it's extremely, very, 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 very key. May I put it this one also, the other part of it is that entrepreneurs, part of be careful, it doesn't affect your health and family. That is quite key. If you are a young person, you can work many long hours, but also make sure you have time to have a breather. If you have a family, make sure also your family is part of that. I'm sure the one who has written about generational wealth, that's what I'm researching on, it move along with the family. I might say that in Africa, one of the Asian community they have done, as my colleague will say, is that they move along with the family. In Africa, many of us are first generation, so unakuwa solo, you are just one person in Africa. However, time has come that you can envision other family members to join with you, to team up with you, and also they become entrepreneurs, or they can become also managers in the business. Not every entrepreneur is a manager, and not every manager is an entrepreneur. So you can separate the two roles. So many of my listeners this afternoon, as part of is that, do you consider yourself as a manager? Then you can be employed by an entrepreneur and makes the business grow. Do you consider yourself as an entrepreneur? Yes, then you can have a manager to help you grow your business. You may also want to create a team of entrepreneurs and team of entrepreneurs and managers so that I'm bringing my skills so that you begin as entrepreneur and go out there. I'm behind in the system, setting up the systems to make sure the business grows. So teamwork, I think that's another area that we may not have to be scared. We may have to agree to become teamwork to bring synergy together so that we can grow. And in the business, each one want to benefit really. It's not one man take it all, one woman take it all, but you can share. However, as I conclude, the bottom line is character. You can be successful, but if you don't have a character, it's just a matter of time. It will be a house of cards. It will come down. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, this has just been so amazing. I really, really have enjoyed our discussion, the key points that you've given to all of us as we heard you talk this afternoon. And most importantly, I'm so happy that these things are published, right? That there are books that we can purchase, that there's something where we can go back to this. Oh, I thought that we had done that. Okay, go on.
No. Yeah. So I think my parting shot is that if you want to build an intergenerational businesses, allow others to win with you. I'm seeing a lot of our businesses, it's only the CEO who is rich, the other staff are paupers. Also, they have shared in your dream, pay them well, let them also achieve their dream. Also get mentorship, my 3 things. That's one of the quickest way to achieve success. People who can speak to your vision, to your dream, and who can work with you along the journey. But of course, when you engage our seniors like Mr. Kinoti, be respectful, pay him well. I know if he doesn't want the money, he'll return back to you. But also we are seeing people, be my mentor, and yet they are not willing to pay. And paying is important, even if it's a business course, an accelerator course, so that you learn the skills of building the business. And finally, with the family, what I learned is that start early. The Asian entrepreneurs I spoke to, as early as 4 years and 5, they're bringing their children to business. They are trusting them with real responsibility. They are showing them a clear path for their growth and helping them to be disciplined. Many of them go abroad and get very good education, go work actually for other people. By the time they come back, they are building a business that even when they stop working, their children can protect their interests and give them money to live on when they can no longer actively work. Thank you very much. It's been such a pleasure to engage with entrepreneurs here.
Thank you, Karumba. And I'll pass over back to you, Mr. Kinoti, and you can give us your 3 parting shots. Go ahead. You're still on mute, sir.
Yes, thank you. One is that I cherish that I was taught entrepreneurship and the ability to take risk. Decisions, the dreams that you have, will never become a reality until you take risk. Second, I've learned the journey of entrepreneurship the room was not built by a solo person. So I've learned to work with other people, to involve others, to consult with many people. Wisdom will be there. The third thing, the final one, is that I've learned the secret to fear God. Because when you fear God, you not do harm to your other networks in the business, financiers, friends. You want to have that integrity. Integrity comes with the knowing and fearing God. And then the rest will follow. The world will follow. Go out to make enterprise. Then wealth will follow if you manage your cash flow properly. That's my conclusion. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you all so, so much. I have very many notes over here because of all the nuggets that you have given us today. And I truly thank you for the time that you've taken. Also to Anne for putting this together, because these conversations are so timely. You know, we were on a panel yesterday, and one of the speakers spoke about the fact that with family businesses, you have sort of three main areas that interlink. And the two of you have touched on that today, that there's the family unit, right? And whatever it is that comes with that. There's also the idea of ownership. And then there's the idea of the enterprise. And those three things work together whenever you are creating intergenerational businesses. And it goes back to what you have spoken about, Karumba, about how you bring in your family to walk on this journey with you. Mr. Kinoti, what you said about integrity and character being something that is not only being mirrored by those who are around you, but it is something that that people will want to invest with you, people want to work with you, people want to work for you because of the character that you have. And so thank you so much for all of these things that you have shared with us today. Again, I do urge everybody to check out Karumba's website. He's listed it there. You can see how you can get his books. Mr. Kinoti, I'm sure you're going to also let us know, and Anne and your team, I'm sure you're also going to let us know how we can purchase these books so that we can keep a little bit of this wisdom with us and have it with us to refer to as we continue on our entrepreneurial journey. And as you both said, the magic is in beginning. So those of us who are still on the sidelines, let's throw down the gauntlet and see what happens, and not be afraid of failing, because it is in that failure that we learn. So over to you, Anne. And again, thank you so much, Mr. Kinoti, and thank you so much, Karumba.